We'll call this meeting of the Palmer City Council to order at 6 o'clock on September 24th, 2024. And as we begin, I left my phone out to remind me I'm turning my phone off and would suggest other people might do that as well. And Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Alcantara.
Here.
Councilmember Moline.
Here.
Mayor Carrington.
Here.
Councilmember Tudor.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Anzalone.
And yesterday I received a call from Deputy Mayor Anzalotti, and I think she was in Watson Lake in Yukon Territory, and she finally got cell service again. She wasn't sure she'd make it here. I said, well, drive safely. We'll go with whether you're here or not. We'll just do our thing, so. And do we want to give her an excused absence? The Alcan absence or something? Not Alcantara, Alcan. All right. So if you could stand, Mr. Best, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have approval of the agenda, which includes the minutes from September 10th, 2024 regular meeting. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. Is there any objection to approving the agenda? So we'll call that unanimous. I don't think we have anything for communications and appearances. City managers report. Mr. Jelly.
Great, thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a couple items tonight to cover. First, again, thank you all for all the assistance in getting me acclimated and perspectives on things. Working hard on the budget. One of the things I just wanted to talk briefly about in all the meetings this first couple of weeks, I did meet with the borough on the transit topic, and one of the things that we worked out quickly was that at present, the way they're talking about generating the funding, it would be an area-wide levy. So we've sort of taken off the table for the moment a contribution to the city so that we're not double paying for that. So it was something after we kind of looked back and forth how we were doing it and trying to substantiate the money. Now, one of the things I've told them, whether they're asking city council for a monetary contribution or the political support to constituents, is that we need to really understand better what we think the current transit system is doing and what we expect the new transit system being run by the borough would do. So they may contact all of you. We've given them a list of people that we recommend they contact, but ultimately they've got to canvass the community and find out what the need is there. I don't get the feeling that we in this group have a great sense of what the current nonprofit provider Valley Transit was necessarily doing or what it was doing for Palmer. So I think that it's important. And just for clarification, what's happened is the federal government has removed the ability for these nonprofits, for nonprofit organizations to receive this funding to be able to run these type of systems. They want a government entity to be the host. So the borough has said we'll be the host. It's about $1 million-ish, maybe a little more, but it's 50% match. So that'll sort of be the kick with it, is the borough's got to raise the money. So again, that's where the talk was about a proportionate share coming from the different cities and the borough, and then recognizing that the way they had structured the borough funding, we all would be paying it originally. So I think right now we're going to continue down that path, but I'll have some more to follow on that particular topic. So other than that, the only thing I have to report at the moment is just a lot of work going on, obviously, to get the budget prepared. I think that we're going to stay on track, and whatever the ultimate decisions tonight are on a couple details and meetings, I think that will allow us to fill in the blanks, but staff will ultimately be ready for whatever council decides. So, Penny, any questions? It's good.
Council have any questions for the manager? Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's not a question. It's more of I appreciate the position that you took. I also received a phone call on the transit situation, and that was my first inclination was, first, let's understand what kind of service is being provided inside city limits. And I couldn't find a route that they had. I know that years ago, we spent some funds to put in bus stops, and there was a year or two that there was some slight service, but then it went away. And so to bring that data back to us as they continue on, keeping us informed of the process that they're going through, but that I didn't see a need for us to be part of having to pay for it if they couldn't provide any service to us, really. So I really appreciate you taking that position with them.
Right, and Counselor, and just for clarification, what I might not have said is, so the current provider, Valley Transit or Valley Transportation, I'm not sure exactly what they call themselves, but so what'll happen now is the borough will continue to gather data, their planning department's working it, they'll write an RFP, this will go out to bid again, so they could certainly be awarded the contract again, or somebody else could get it, so it's really in that period now. We've got until the current contract that the nonprofit runs is good through June, so there's still a little bit of time to put this together and make sure that we do it right and get the information. And it may certainly be, as the borough runs it and looks at the way they are going to set it up with input, it may be trial and error for a couple of years to get it going. Kind of as the mayor said, he didn't really remember hearing or seeing many Valley Transit buses go through. And then lately, since there's been discussion, they seem like they're around, but the windows are pretty heavily tinted. How do you know who's on it? So I think, and they're really looking to be able to write an appropriate and efficient RFP to have a lot more data than what they have. So I think it'll be a bit of a work in progress, and hopefully we can, find a way to get a lot of good community input on what the need is.
Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Jelly. I think I received a call from the borough's consultant as well. Math's kind of my strong suit. I think the numbers were a little bit higher than what you're suggesting, and the fact that what I recalled from the brief conversation was that the overall budget's around $3 million, of which 50% share would be about 1.5, which obviously, if Palmer participated, would be a much lower piece in the population. I appreciate what Councilmember Best pointed out, that I think it has been a long time since buses have been coming to, it's been so long that Palmer Cars was where Palmer Fred Meyer is now. So it's been a long time since they've provided any bus service that actually came into the city. But I think the numbers are higher, but I could be wrong. So they kind of, check and verify for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and just the numbers I'm using are the numbers they're currently, that's what the current nonprofit is drawing. I think the borough may be planning for a higher level budget initially, but remember, we're in the very infant stages of the planning process. So I think everybody, so far likely will, I think it's going to get tampered down a lot is what I think. I think there's a big idea chart out there now, but I think it's going to have to get wound down, because the last thing anybody wants to do is launch this thing and have it not being used. I think sort of the cost, if you will, have been invisible to us for transit, because it's a nonprofit's been getting, they've been doing it. So, but now fortunately, I guess that a government entity, the borough, stepped up to do it. But I think now we'll be certainly scrutinizing, a little bit greater the costs, or at least I would hope that we would be doing that. So. And whether we're putting funding in directly, I really believe the borough will look to partner and make sure that all of us are getting the appropriate say. And I'm going to meet with our representative on the borough to also make sure that our communication is being telegraphed through there.
All right. Any other questions for the manager from the council? Okay. Next is my mayor's report. And next time I think of writing multiple pages on things that could be changed, I will send the manager to go do some research, because he comes out fairly well on. But my report's in there. I don't know if there's any questions for me on my report. Okay. City clerk, I believe, has a report. Is there any questions of council from the city clerk? All right. Oh, Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, do we have a rough count of how many early voters that we've had?
To date, 25.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to ask, is now the time that you would like to have input from the rest of council on whether or not we should consider 2 special budget meetings, October 29th and November 5th?
We were doing I think on the next page of our agenda, we've got where is it?
Well, it is on your report, though.
Oh, that's true.
So it is on your report.
I didn't know if you
So
wanted to do it now.
if you want, or we were going to have a committee of the whole and have discussions about budget, so,
Okay, we'll just go ahead and do that then.
okay. And no other questions? And Sarah Heath is on the line. Do we have anything from our attorney?
Nothing much. Can you hear me okay? I've been assisting with the transition with the city manager, but I don't have anything extra to add. Are there any questions for me?
Any questions for the attorney at this time? Okay, no, not at this time. All right, next is audience participation. Council meeting rules protect your right to testify and be heard even if others in the room disagree with you. Council meeting rules also ensure that those attending can express their views if they do not interfere with the rights of others to see and hear the proceedings. At all times, order and decorum will be maintained in keeping with the civility and dignity of the legislative process. Please be respectful during audience participation. No disruptions to city business or threats of any kind will be allowed. Individuals who cannot follow these guidelines will be removed. Any threats against others could result in criminal prosecution. So please sign in, state your name at the beginning, and 3 minutes per person. We will open audience participation, and Josh, can we pester you to get the list for us? He's one of the younger members of the council. Ah. So we have, is this Amanda Graham?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Amanda Graham, and I've been a resident of the city of Palmer for more than 10 years. I come before you today as a very concerned wife of a Palmer firefighter to read to you the International Association of
Did we-
Firefighters censorship letter.
Just a sec, we're not sure it's on. You're the first one, sorry.
First one.
There we go.
Perfect.
And it needs to be kind of close, yeah.
Is that better?
Yes.
My name is Amanda Graham, and I have been a resident of the city of Palmer for more than 10 years. I come before you today as a very concerned wife of a Palmer firefighter to read to you the International Association of Firefighters censorship letter of our new city manager, Stephen Jelly. It is in the form of a proclamation, so for brevity and sanity's sake, I'm going to be leaving out the many whereases. The censure of city manager Stephen Jelly was submitted by the New York State Professional Firefighters Association, the Ogdenburg's Firefighters Association, the Jackson Hole Professional Firefighters, and the Federated Firefighters of Wyoming. It was passed unanimously during the IAFF convention a few weeks ago. The city of Ogdensburg, with a population of around 10,000 residents, established its fire department more than 160 years ago. And the members of the Ogdensburg Firefighters Association, IAFF, Local 1799, are committed to protecting the lives and property of Ogdensburg residents, businesses, and visitors. Local 1799's representatives conducted a good faith contract negotiation with duly authorized city officials and, following ratification by its membership, signed a collective bargaining agreement on November 22nd, 2019, defining the terms and conditions of employment beginning January 1st, 2020 through December 31st of 2025. Stephen Jelly, who was already serving as interim city manager, appointed himself the fire chief in 2020 despite opposition from Local 1799, and at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, he threatened to lay off and did lay off Local 1799 members and operated the fire department with fewer than 5 qualified members per shift, a direct violation of the collective bargaining agreement's minimum staffing clause, thereby imperiling the safety of the community and the safety of those dedicated and sworn to protect it. During the term of his appointment, Stephen Jelly issued memoranda limiting Local 1799 members' ability to speak with the media about their working conditions, and he said he was willing to replace full-time crew of firefighters with volunteers. Local 1799 was awarded a settlement by a neutral arbitrator appointed through the New York State Public Employee Relations Board, totaling more than $519,000 for the violations of the collective bargaining agreement directed by Stephen Jelly. Jackson Hole Professional Firefighters, Local IAFF 5067, protect Teton County, Wyoming, and the town of Jackson, covering 3,996 square miles and serving 23,000 residents, as a combination department with 28 IAFF members from the Federated Firefighters of Wyoming. Stephen Jelly, while employed as chief of Jackson Hole Fire and EMS, cut minimum staffing from 3 firefighters to 2 and reduced qualifications needed for those positions. He also cut the career staff's off-duty training requirements and opportunities without input from leadership or being requested to do so by the county. He reduced interagency cooperation with the Forest Service due to a public dispute over leadership and responsibility for wild and urban interface. He threatened employees with termination in an open meeting for disagreeing with him on staffing needs and claimed the existence of a budget crisis within Teton County, which was disputed by both the treasurer and the county clerk. He decommissioned and sold apparatus without input from battalion chiefs, station leadership, and the maintenance division, or any requests from the county, thereby reducing response capabilities at multiple stations. He resigned as the chief of Jackson Hole Fire and EMS with a $150,000 severance package after being placed on paid administrative leave for 27 days following a firestorm of public comment and complaints about his leadership. I will continue this with the next half because I think I'm just about out of time. Thank you.
Thanks. Travis Friesen?
Hi, my name is Travis Friesen. I live in Palmer. I have an idea that I want you guys to all consider, and it involves parking lots. If you think about it, you know, cars are a big investment, but pretty much 80 to 90% of the time, cars are spend their lives being parked, you know, stationary. You know, if you really think about it, around that percentage of the time, and the parking lots, you know, they take up a lot of land, and they don't add financial benefit for stores like Fred Meyer's and such. And as for the parking rides in Trunk Road and near Walmart and the former Sears building, they help the community, but they don't give any money in return. So I have this idea, and it involved with renewable energy. I've read that they want to put more renewables in Alaska. A lot of it solar, and I like solar. All right, but the problem is that, you know, these solar farms take up a lot of precious land that could be used for something. And I saw a picture that you could use those solar panels. You could put them over the parking lots, and so that's one way you can use the parking lots. You know, turn them into, you know, somewhat like a solar farm. And another benefit with that is that in wintertime, there won't be as much snow on the cars, because the solar panels will be giving them somewhat of a cover, provided that there's no wind. So, and also, you know, and it's also a good way to increase our electrical charging capacity, you know, with the solar panels covering the parking lots. So it's another way to look at solar farms in general. You know, I'm not against cars or anything, but I'm just saying, you know, if you really think about it, you know, cars do spend a majority of their time parked, even though that a lot of people make payments on it for something that spends most of its life inactive. All right, so yeah, so put solar panels over the parking lots, you know, instead of precious fields that could be used for farmland. Thank you.
Thank you. Prudence McKinney.
Good evening. I'm Prudence McKinney. I'm president of the Friends of the Palmer Library. Just here to give you an update on the fun things that we've had going on at the library and what's coming up for October. We're finishing up our Smokey the Bear Reading Challenge. This was for mostly young people. I believe it was in honor of Smokey the Bears. I want to say he turned 80 this year, which I thought was pretty cool. People could come into the library. There was a little fact sheet about Smokey, and then there were categories of books that they could read about the natural world. And if they read a book, they could come back into the library, and they filled out a little piece of paper, and we entered them in a prize drawing. So that is concluding at the end of this week. And then for October, we are swinging into holiday season, starting with Halloween. So we have a ton of movies on tap for people. We're doing our regular story times. Those are every Tuesday at the Depot. 10 o'clock for the little kids, that's the baby lap sit, and then 11 o'clock is the toddler age. So those continue every Tuesday through October. And then in the afternoons on the 1st and the 15th, which are also Tuesdays, we're screening Beetlejuice. So if you're ready to see the sequel, you could drop in first and see the original, if you don't remember, because it's been a while. And then that's on the 1st, and on the 15th, it's the Nightmare Before Christmas. Those are both free of charge. There'll be snacks. And then on the 30th, which is also no, that's a Wednesday, sorry. Wednesday the 30th, we're doing a 4-movie Halloween movie marathon starting at 10 and running through 6. And we are screening Hotel Transylvania, Casper, Frankenweenie, which may be a sleeper classic there. I've never seen that one, but I hear it's pretty good. And our last one is Hocus Pocus. And those also will be entirely free. I think at those we are selling like some snacks and drinks and things, and there'll be games and activities in between. So the snow's probably coming in by then, but you've got some good movies that you can catch up on the library. And as always, we're a great place to get a good book. Thank you. Oh, and sorry, Heidi, the next person on the list, couldn't make it. So she's
Okay. Then Jackie, go for it.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jackie Goforth. I have been challenging books throughout the valley that are in the young adult section and shouldn't be, because they contain content that is illegal to give to minors, exactly like cigarettes or alcohol is. And it's been known as banning. My name is now associated as a book banner, and I ban things, and that is not remotely true, or nor is it accurate. And I want you to know that this week is Book Banning Week, and they're putting it out with books like Charlotte's Web and To Kill a Mockingbird, which has nothing to do with the pornification of literature. And believe it or not, there's actually a treatise on that that was written in 1996, which I shall be reading tonight. I sent a challenge to your librarian in Palmer about this book. This book is in a series called The Thrones of Glass. It was put out in 2017, I think, as a children's selection for the young adults, okay? By Sarah Moss. And this is the answer I got back. Our system confirms we do have a copy of this book. Palmer Public's Library Edition was published by Bloomsbury Children's Books in 2016. I visited the publisher website, and I have discovered that its title has been reprinted by Bloomsbury in 2023. The children's imprint has been removed. Bloomsbury no longer markets Empire of Storms or any of the other Sarah Moss books in this line. They are now in adult. So, to say that moving a book from young adult to adult is banning means the publishers are now banning their own books, okay? They realized the content was not okay for children, and they moved it. Now, I've been meeting with librarians throughout the borough. I've met with 3 so far that have also agreed with me that the content should be in adult, because it is illegal, and it isn't something that a librarian should have to deal with. There is explicit sexual content in the books. We've read it to you, and of course, being the messenger, I am now charged with that also. We've read you some of the content that's in some of these books. It's horrific, and it's not something that anybody under the age of 16 should have to read or should be allowed to read. So I want to thank you very much, and I want you to know that the librarians and the publishers are now book banners. So if that title of book banning is to be attached to me, it is attached to the publishers and the librarians also. So when they threaten to sue people, I don't know who they intend to sue now. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria Hudson.
Good afternoon, Council. I just wanted to come and introduce myself to all of you. My name is Victoria Hudson, and I am running for City Council, and voting is on October 1st, so I hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thanks. Is there anyone else for audience participation that didn't get a chance to sign up? Okay, we'll close this audience participation. And public hearings. Resolution number 24-037, a resolution of the Palmer City Council designating authorized signatures for check signing affecting any and all disbursements of city monies for the general fund checking account, and designating city representatives who are authorized and empowered to execute and deliver all documentation and instructions on city investment accounts. Do we want a description of this, or? So can we get a short Yeah. Okay. All right, and then we'll get, okay, the public hearing is open. Anyone wishing to speak to this resolution 24-037 can come forward. Okay, seeing no one, will close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded, okay. Do we want a little more explanation from
Yes,
staff?
please.
Mr. Manager?
I'll ask the finance director to come up and explain to you the process.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is kind of a housekeeping item. The current signers on the city account is the finance director, the mayor, the city clerk, and the previous city manager. And this is removing the previous city manager and adding the new city manager to check signing and investments accounts with the city.
Okay. Any questions? Councilman Alcantara?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Gina. I assume that was what this kind of was all about, just replacing Mr. Moosey's name with Mr. Jelly. But in your opinion, since you've been on this list the longest, is this a deep enough bench? I mean, has there ever been an issue where only having 4 people has ever come into play? Should there be other potential directors maybe on this list?
The only time it's come into play was back in 2010 when I started with the city, and the city manager left and we had a new mayor. And but we had 5 deep back then, but I think somebody was out of town. But 4 is plenty.
Okay. Councilmember Moline?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Gina. Just a quick question as to how many people actually sign a check. Is it just one of those, or does it require more than one signature on a check?
It requires 2 signatures.
2 signatures. Very good. Thank you.
Councilman Cooper?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up on that, so is there a limit on the amount that these people can sign?
The bank has limits with the city, and once it gets to a certain dollar amount, the bank will contact us regarding usually we're talking like when we get into like the $1 million, if we're doing like moving funds. Like recently we moved funds from the city checking account to AMLIP investment pool, around $5 million. And that was, it took a signature and a letter from the city manager and the finance director.
Follow up.
Yes, sir.
I guess what I was alluding to is we have a limit on the amount that individuals can spend. For example, I think the city manager has, I think maybe it's $25,000. He has to come to the council. I guess the question is on these checks, is there a limit before it has to come to us before it gets approved, or is it approved in the budget prior to that?
Any items spent with one single vendor at one time, that is 15,000, is more than 15,000, has to come to council for approval, even if it's budgeted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. No other questions? Are we ready to vote then? Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Moline? Yes. Councilmember Tudor?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Next is action memorandum number 24-057, directing the city manager to notify the state of Alaska of the city council statement of non-objection of the renewal of Turkey Red's restaurant eating place license, number 4758. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions the council has? Councilman Best, everyone's looking at you.
Well, actually, I'm intrigued. So we've had requests before when it comes to liquor licenses.
Right.
This is the first one that I remember of a restaurant coming before us, at least that has jumped out in my mind.
Councilmember Moline?
And so that's what.
Thank you. If I can add to the question on, or kind of roundabout to the question on that, I believe that there was also a license associated with this for them to be able to serve on the sidewalk. Is that correct? To extend the liquor license in order to be able to serve on the sidewalk, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess we need some clarity around why.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Best.
Yeah, I recognize that we do have the liquor license renewal form below us, but it was just kind of interesting that it was stated in here under the action memorandum as a renewal of Turkey Red's restaurant eating place license. So that was where my question of why this is the first time I've ever seen it formatted in this manner.
Right.
That's how they term it.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're not kind of bringing out fears of restaurant owners that there's another permit process that they need to be abiding by because of how this is just kind of loosely worded like this.
Well, it's loosely worded and it almost matches what's on the form, although the form actually calls it a combined renewal notice.
So, Mr. Mayor, to be
Councilman Moline.
okay, so Mr. Mayor, to be clear, it does include this is combining the liquor for the sidewalk or the established eating area outside of the building as well, correct?
I believe that is, I would read that.
Okay.
And
It'd
this
just
is,
be nice to get it done and all in one shot.
Right.
So.
and this is, again, we don't actually do the licensing where this is just the courtesy of the state asking if we have any objection. So I guess that would be the question, if we have any difficulties with this. Councilman Best.
And then I'll go ahead and ask the normal question of the clerk. Have we received anybody that have complained or tried to contact us in regards to this?
No, we have not.
Okay. All right. So I think we understand it's actually a combined license. Any other questions? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Tudor?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Councilmember Moline?
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor? Mayor Carrington? Nope, I missed somebody.
Councilman Cooper.
Who did I miss? Cooper, oops, sorry. I have Tudor on here twice, sorry about that.
Thank you.
I missed
Thank you.
Cooper,
And
whoops.
yes.
That's that a yes? Okay, sorry about that.
So that's unanimous. We'll clarify that. All right. No unfinished business or new business. Record of items placed on the table. Is this on the table? Sorry.
Right, that would be the proposed budget schedule and the letter from Ms. Goforth.
Okay. All right. Next is our second audience participation. So we'll open audience participation. I guess we'll just write your name down, so make sure you start with your name.
Hi, my name is Travis Friesen. I live in Palmer, and I also have some ideas for the transit in Palmer and the Mat-Su Valley in general. Behind us, we have railroad tracks and a train depot, and I think that I would like to see that money. It could also go forward into restoring the tracks so that we can probably have some commuter rail, between Palmer and Anchorage, because a lot of people are moving into the valley because Anchorage refuses to allow any new any high density residential building. It's all single family, so they pretty much max it out, and it's on them. So, but anyway, so as For a while, I've been using the Valley Transit to go to and from Anchorage before COVID, and I really like it. The problem is the traffic. It backs up, and sometimes you could be delayed. But with the train tracks, with the train, there is no traffic and there is no delays. It's usually on time, 100% of the time, because the train's the only one that's on the track. So I like to see that being used, to have some railroad infrastructure, because right now, the country as a whole is not utilizing its railroad infrastructure like other countries. Europe, the continent Europe, likes to look down on us because they use a lot of transportation, public transit with rail, and all we use is cars. But the one thing that they have is a higher density that can support trains, while most cities don't have a high enough density to have light rail or subways in their cities. But I believe that it can be used for commuters, so that they don't have to wade into soul-sucking traffic between Palmer and Anchorage, or Wasilla and Anchorage. You get the idea. So yeah, look into the trains. I'm all for the trains. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation?
Hello again.
Please start with your name.
My name is Amanda Graham, and I've been a city resident since 2011. I'm here to continue speaking about my concerns regarding Stephen Jelly's recent employment as city manager. During the IAFF meeting to pass the resolution that I had read before, there were multiple representatives from each fire department he has worked for in the last 5 years, all with similar stories of contract breach, first responder morale decline, and dismal communication. Clips from the meeting are available on multiple pages. The overwhelming number of red flags about Mr. Jelly from multiple news sources online, as well as social media comments from former employees, is not something that can be ignored. He has a clear and very public history of working for small local governments just like ours, and leaving with more than a year's salary to the average citizen in severance. He has cost multiple small towns hundreds of thousands of dollars in severance and back pay to wronged workers. It appears that Mr. Jelly has a history of poor leadership and alienization of small towns and their emergency services. Given the facts stated in the censure letter and my personal research into his history, I have deep misgivings regarding his application, as seen in the July 17th City Special Council meeting packet agenda on page 42, where he answered no to the agency-wide question number 6, have you ever been terminated or asked to resign by a former employer? In the sworn statement attached to the city application, it states, I agree that any intentional misrepresentation or omission and any material negligent or innocent misrepresentation or omission in or from said information may disqualify me from further consideration for employment and may be considered justification for immediate discharge from employment if discovered at a later date. Based on his history in Ogdensburg and Jackson, it is reasonable to conclude he was asked to tender his resignation on at least one occasion. I have never heard of somebody collecting severance pay because of a voluntary separation. I want to encourage City Council, the city legal team, and my fellow neighbors to thoroughly investigate the concerns that I have brought today for themselves. Palmer cannot be Alaska at its best when someone with a reputation such as Stephen Jelly is at the helm. As he stated in a letter published on the City of Ogdensburg website in March of 22 while city manager, please seek your own information, ask questions, and formulate your own opinion. Clearly, the citizens and leaders in Ogdensburg came to the same conclusion and opinion that I have. Stephen Jelly is not the kind of person who should be running a small town. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for audience participation?
Greetings, it's Jackie Goforth again, and I continually hammer away at the library books for a reason, and the reason is because the library policy is very restrictive, and this is the only avenue I have. I'm going to be handing you all a copy of your library policy. It's very difficult to get a hold of it. You have to have a meeting with the librarian first, and then you get a copy of it with the embossed form to turn in, because you only get one form. There are statements in here that are used as documents that are not legal. The Library Bill of Rights is a statement from the American Library Association. It is only recognized in one state, that's Illinois. It's not a legal document. The Freedom to Read statement is a statement from the American Library Association. Once again, it is not a legal document except in Illinois. They recognize it because they're the home state of the American Library Association. And when they say that you have the right to read and you have the right to view, they say without discrimination to age, and they don't mean older people. The Freedom to View statement is also in here. This is another form that is not a legal statement in any state. These statements will not hold up in a court of law. And I think you know that if you got the answer or you read the answer from our Attorney General to the question from the attorney on what the books were like. It's the community standards that matter, not anything that the American Library Association has put out. And that's continually what I speak about. It's continually what I will speak to. And I'm asking the City Council right now to please see the library, looks at their policy. Somebody needs to look at the policy that they have designed, because it is not friendly at all. It's fascist. It's not friendly at all to anybody who complains. In fact, when you do the hearing that's in here, they do a closed hearing. No one else is allowed in there. And believe me, it's a barrage of questions to make you look stupid. Trust me, I have the thumb drive on him. I ask the City Council, because you are in charge of the library, please look at the city library's policy for challenged books and see if it's something that we can all get behind, not just the American Library Association, inculcated, educated librarians and nonprofit people. Can we do that, please? Because if that happens, I won't be in here talking to you all the time, because I will have an avenue to address these books. And they're obviously not for young adults, because if they are moving it from young adult to adult, that means it shouldn't have been in children's division in the first place, doesn't it? Doesn't it? That book should never have been in there in the first place. And I know why it's in there, because I'm a writer. It's for money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else for audience participation? Okay, we will close audience participation. Next, we have Committee of the Whole. This is so we can go in and kind of have more of an open discussion. Basically, yeah, we need a motion.
I move that we go into a committee of the whole, please.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, what is he doing? Councilmember Tudor?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Moline?
Yes, I think
Councilmember
those two need to be
Alcantra.
separated.
I know, I agree.
All right. So we're going into the Committee of the Whole. Yes, Mr. Best? Okay. Let's go ahead and take a 7-minute break or so.
I say yes too, Shelley.
Yeah, just do it, just do it twice while you're at it. Yeah.
Right.
It's tentative, I mean. I'm talking about the first. That's just funny.
Oh, well, I guess I would want to put it like on the agenda so people can say, hey, we're going to do it. And then it's a little more notice, but, okay. We're back. So we're back in session as a Committee of the Whole. Okay. So I guess we're still, I think about 3 weeks out or something before we get current numbers and all that, but I figured I wanted to take the time to kind of look at some of the things. I remembered like fees and fines was something we started to kind of discuss. And I believe staff may have started looking at that this last year. But I guess I wanted to give counsel, have you seen something in there that you kind of, feels weird, feels wrong? We want to suggest to staff that, hey, they might want to research this a little better.
Mayor, if I could.
Go ahead. Oh,
Just add something while council's thinking. I've looked at the fine schedule and nothing has jumped off the page at me there. I think there's probably some things that may come to members of council's mind or members of staff mind, but more so than the amount we're charging, I think it's probably the ability to enforce and how do we get it done. So is it written on paper and can we really enforce it, or how effective we are? In the area of fee schedule, I would say Gina and I have been talking about this, and I'm trying as quickly as I can to dig in to the fees, in particular in the in the areas of the enterprise funds, water sewer fund, golf course, for instance, and probably not golf course isn't a good one, and airport. And I don't know that I'll be fully ready by budget time, but I wanted council to know that's my quick summation of fines and fees. As I think I sent to all of you in a summary, one of the things I want to bring to you in the coming year is what will it take to get the enterprise funds running as their own enterprises, as the name would indicate. So I think there may be some routine things being proposed to you during the budget, likely the typical cost of increase for water and sewer rates perhaps. But I want to say that likely is going to be the business as usual approach, because I think we've got work to do to bring you a comprehensive justification and an analysis on where perhaps rates should go. I think the same with the airport. So just giving you our update on what we're looking at. If there was something else council was wanting us to look at outside of that, certainly willing to do it. But I do think the main ones you may be thinking about, they really are going to require a little more analysis than we're going to have time to properly prepare before this budget deliberation.
Councilmember Maleen?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what I think I hear you saying is kind of maybe hearing you say is that you want to look at the fees and do kind of a fair market value type assessment to say, okay, where could we maybe level up, or even in some cases reduce the fee if it's not appropriate, and then bring that back to the council and then go from there. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I am, and I basically what you said is pretty well accurate. Although I do want to prepare you for instance, water and sewer and airport. There's no chance of reducing there. I want to be clear about that.
I'm not asking for you to make a commitment, because I do think that is part of that assessment. I mean, and sorry to use that terminology, but I mean it is fair market value. Is basically is what it is. But thank you. That makes me feel better.
And I think just to set expectation, and again, Councilor Maleen, I think your counsel will be valuable whether you're in office or not. So I look forward to continuing to provide perspective and counsel to me. I think, again, as what I sent you all in my summary is the initial approach was I need to show all of you what you have to raise for revenue for these things to operate on their own. And that may be a bridge too far, perhaps. I don't know until we get into it. But my ultimate intent is to bring you how do these systems work without subsidizing them with funds from the general fund.
Councilman Cooper.
Thank you. In regards to the fine schedule, I guess I have to kind of maybe apologize. I was supposed to look at that last year as well. But yeah, I think the part I do agree with you is that do we have the ability to enforce these? And I know that some of the incidents, if you will, that we will charge people under state statute versus city statute. If that's the case, maybe we need to get rid of those. But the one that comes to mind for me right away is assault and battery is a $75 fine. And if my dog's loose, it's a $75 fine. Yeah, that doesn't wash with me, you know. And so I think that we maybe either need to make the assumption that if we're gonna charge under state statute, then we get rid of them. But if we're not, then we need to make sure that our fine schedule is appropriate. Thank you.
Any other council members want to weigh in? Councilman Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A little bit reluctantly, I'll weigh in. Just along with the lines what Councilmember Cooper had to say. I don't have the big budget book in front of me from months ago, but I do think there are some things, the one he just mentioned, there may be others that do jump out as issues of fairness and you know, making sure that it's not the same price tag on certain fines. So I think it's certainly worth taking a dive into and looking at last year's budget book. And you know, I would think moving forward, I have to see if we can come up with an idea of also how much money are we really generating from these things. I mean, I have a feeling it's a minuscule amount of money. I could be wrong, but that's my recollection from months ago. The conversation was it's not a money thing as much as, I guess, having it on the books to deter some things happening. I don't know if $75 fine deters assault and battery or keeping dogs loose, but thanks.
All right. Anyone else? Oh, Councilmember Maline.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
so as I understand it, the dates that are set for some of these, for the budget meetings, those are flexible and adjustable okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there was another list, it might have been on the table, that I think Gina put together, which it just shows it in chronological order, and it says tentative by the special council meetings. I guess I would rather schedule too many meetings and get to cancel them than not have enough. Especially because December is a quirky month for our schedule because of AML. But Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you. Just a question for you, sir. Wonder if it's appropriate at this time to find out where we are with the railroad crossing at Fireweed and potential, I have a question on a potential new parking lot. I don't know if it would be a good time to find out where we are with that so that we can see if it fits into the budget, you know, if they're going to be coming and asking for more money for the Fireweed and then Blueberry and who knows whatever else we have to do.
Mr. Manager, are you following this?
Yeah, yes, sir. Excuse me. I don't have anything by way of specifics. I mean, I think, Councilor Cooper, you spoke to the DPW and you and I spoke briefly, but I thought that was something you were going to bring up tonight to see if it's a direction the council wants me to go. We've not taken any specific action. I have, just based on our discussion, asked the DPW director and the finance director to pull the railroad agreement so I can, just for no other purpose but situational awareness, understand the number of permits we have, who I contact if we want to modify or ask for a new permit. So I'm working on getting up to speed on that, but I just made the assumption it was something you were going to bring up tonight to discuss with council.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can, everything's open now to talk about, right? So.
Yeah, for that, Mr. Mayor, thank you. For the edification, the conversation that we had is
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes,
I'm sorry, but I thought, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I thought we were in the committee of the whole to talk about this specifically, the strategy for the budget,
right,
but
and
not.
this is a question about budget, if we want to put this in the budget.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'm just, because it sounds like we're headed down a direction that on decision-making rather than budget.
No, this is a potential budget issue, you know, and it's something that's, is probably not in the ordinary, would not have been put on the budget, except that, you know, I kind of brought it up and I think it will be put on the budget. So I just wanted to elucidate a little bit about what that request is going to be.
Right, and then Councilmember Moline.
I'm sorry. I just think we're headed into kind of dangerous territory, and I just want to watch what we're doing. That's just an error of caution.
Okay.
Just, yeah, all I would like to do is just, I guess, elucidate on the conversation that I had. And, you know, and parking lots have been an issue. And the comment that I had with the city manager was north of the depot we have a parking lot. And that's why he's looking at railroad permits, because we have the ability to increase the size of that dirt parking lot currently. But that might be into the, we might have to put that in the budget because it's going to obviously cost money, right?
Right. I mean, and there's a couple factors there. As the manager mentioned, we have, I believe it's 4 permits with the railroad. I know I don't know how much we actually spend on them. And my impression from when I went a couple of years ago, we went and chatted with the railroad. They seemed very amenable to change and modify permits. But I'm sure that means there's a price tag involved. So that's one of the big questions, as well as the actual cost of if you're going to
Yeah, exactly.
rip out tracks and fix a road or whatever.
Exactly, but Mr. Mayor, if I can, I would just say that actually has to come before not just the council, but that there's got to be some public comment on that as well, because that's pretty passionate conversation that needs to be had with the public. And so I'm just saying, I mean, if I understand that you want to get that in the budget, but there's more to it than that. And so if you want to get that into then you better bump up the timeline as to when you want that brought before us and what the recommendations were that we had originally asked for in the parking from the planning and zoning report.
Well, I guess in my mind, we had some discussion earlier about the railroad crossing. So that's kind of what's in my mind.
Yeah, but he's.
Parking lot, that's something else, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
It's called Mission Creek.
But when we have the ability to do it on our own, there doesn't necessarily have to be public discussion. If you have the authority to, based on the permits that are authorized by the railroad, and we have the ability to do that, then we can go ahead and do that.
We're outside of the topic of discussion, I'm sorry. I missed point of order.
Okay, so back to the timeline. Do those dates look like they would work? They're basically Tuesdays in between meetings. Although, when you look at it, it's like there's like 4 or 5 weeks in a row of having meetings, but.
Should I just talk?
Councilman Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It looks like we jumped into the budget schedule, correct?
Yeah.
I kind of left the 5-year capital. Okay, you know, like I said, math's my strong suit, and there's a 60% chance I won't be here for any of these committee meetings since there's five candidates running for 2 city council slots, but you know, who knows? But I did hear you say there's a huge gap there at one point, and you may have a quick answer for me of why you wouldn't want to schedule the special council meeting, regular council meeting for December 12th. Can it not be scheduled for December 17th and then give yourself a 3-week break from November 26th to December 17th and then a 4-week break to January 14th, which is the first council meeting of 2025? Because if you do it the way it's lined out here, if I'm reading this correctly, and you cancel the Christmas Eve meeting, which I think is a good idea, you meet on December 3rd and you don't meet again until January 14th. It just seems 6 weeks seems an awful long time to not have a meeting at all, but that's my 2 cents. 2 cents worth.
I think, you know, at least in my mind, part of the logic was that second week of December is AML, which means then we come back and we're all nice and tired, but, and last year, we actually approved the budget at the end of November. You know, which, you know, if we're doing our work, that should be possible. But that, you know, that's open for discussion. One of the technicalities is we have to approve the budget at a regular meeting. But we've figured out we could do like December 3rd, and we could declare that our regular meeting, that we're moving the meeting from whatever it is. Or we could go the other way to, what would be the 19th?
17th. And then you get a report from all the people that.
Your calendar, right?
If you do it on the 17th, we're
Right.
not have to do the packet, because we're gone, that's why we said.
Yeah.
We do one on the 17th.
Yeah. So, I mean, whichever, if you guys want to look at moving our regular meeting to the, whatever it would be, the third Tuesday in December?
Then Mr. Mayor, you got reports back from what happened as well. You get kind of a feedback loop of the ones that attended, if you come back and tell what you're, I don't think.
So what date
We
is
have
that?
no money for them to go anyway. We don't.
Okay. Well,
It's a 6-week gap, that would make me nervous, but, you know, guys do anything.
Councilmember Maline.
It's just nothing we haven't done before, so.
Great. So you're suggesting what date, Mr. Alcantara?
I suggest December 17th instead of December 3rd.
Okay. This is all tentative, but we could put that on the schedule so we can see it and maybe map it out. It's a few months away, so. Okay. So, I don't know if it got into the packet. I didn't know if there's anything with capital improvement plan, but I don't see the copy in the packet, but. Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing I would suggest, if we could make a change, that I know we're just still looking at this, but something for everyone to think about. And my information could be wrong, so please take this with a grain of salt. My understanding, it's come up a couple times that, where is it? It's on Arctic Avenue, you know, just the difficulty with traffic on there. And that's a state road, but I believe that when the state representative was meeting with, I don't know if it was the Board of Economic, I don't know if it was the BED or which group, but they stated that we would need to do some sort of match if we want any kind of request for changes. So one thing I was thinking is if we removed for the upcoming year's capital improvement plan, instead of having the water tower purchase, because that I think might be difficult to get funds for, is putting in funds for that instead to, you know, improve that road so we have crosswalks or, you know, more safety for that road, because it gets a little backed up. Well, it's just something to put on the radar.
Right. Well, and one of the things I was going to suggest is I think our capital improvements plan keeps growing. It's creeping bigger and bigger, and I think having it small enough to fit on one page is probably a better goal for handing out to people, but that's just my comment. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a comment to Josh's comment that I had heard that the state is looking at redoing Arctic. And so for us to go in and request something at this point might be a little premature. So we have to get some information, I think, back from the state to make sure that, you know, what they're going to do is not going to hurt us that much more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's another matter with, I'll be speaking more with the manager, et cetera, with the MPO and what kind of projects are available to work with them on. And that might be a really good one because it's got state involvement. Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The mayor's aware of this, that I had this conversation, but just to bring you up to date. 2 months ago, 2 months ago, Representative Johnson was at a local restaurant, and a constituent of the city had approached me about crosswalk across Arctic. And I was like, well, our state representative is sitting right there. Why don't you mention that to her? She went and had a conversation with Representative Johnson, and then afterwards, as Representative Johnson was leaving the establishment, she got with me and said, hey, I'd like for you to meet with my chief of staff to, understand the situation a little bit more. She was, the previous mayor here. We had had plenty of discussions here. We've talked about this for years. She was very interested in trying to, give a little traction to us as well. So I've also asked with the mayor to have some of the data that we have in the city sent to her office so they could help them have a little more information on it as well. And then it's also working with the NPO and the borough to try to understand, and maybe there's a way that we can synergize all this. But things are in motion. We as a body haven't taken any action yet, but it's just getting the data out there so that we can have a little better, more robust discussion as we go forward, and it'll come back before us as a body.
Okay. And that was kind of my hope of having this, is just having a discussion, put some ideas out there, and then we can bring them back maybe with more information, and we could actually, have some public comment, et cetera. Is there anything else, or shall we head on to council comments?
Well, just on the December 3rd or another time frame,
right.
It's that we need a early regular city meeting so that we can get to the budget if it's still out there.
Right.
So I'm in favor of the December 3rd to be done with the budget if we needed it there. That's my 2 cents.
What's that?
Instead of prolonging it.
Yeah. And knowing me, I'll probably have both of them on their next schedule you look at. Well, and then we can cancel them. It's like, I'd rather about it, so then we can talk about scheduling conflicts, et cetera, so. Okay. Well, should we come out of committee of the whole? Is that, okay, we'll come out of the committee of the whole, and council member comments. Councilman Tudor, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone on this Thursday, on September 26th at 6 p.m. at the Palmer Train Depot, we have the candidate forum. So you get to hear from the candidates running for city council and engage with them. It should be a really fun event. The Palmer Rotary Club is putting that on, so look forward to seeing many people there. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Alcantara?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate the people that came out and participated in audience participation tonight. Address the fact that it could be my last city council meeting. Like I said, math's my strong suit. There's 5 people running for 2 seats. So there's a 60% chance I will not be back here on October 8th, but we'll see what the voters have to say. And as always, I'll respect the will of the voters of the city of Palmer. We'll see what happens moving forward. What I think is super exciting is that there are 5 candidates running for 2 city council seats. You don't see that anywhere else in this state. Wasilla, it's 2 for 2. Kenai, it's 2 for 2. Soldotna, it's 2 for 2. And so I am really heartened by the fact that there are people out there willing to serve, willing to go through what they have to do to be a candidate. Talking to people door to door, going to candidate forums, completing questionnaires. It's not an easy task, and I applaud everybody who puts themselves forward to do it. I wish all the candidates good luck next Tuesday, and maybe I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Thanks.
Councilmember Moline?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, this is my last council meeting, and I just want to say to all of my fellow council members, it's been an absolute pleasure to serve with you. And to my constituents, it's been an absolute pleasure to serve you. As I go into kind of a new stage in my life. Politics has kind of had to be put on the back burner for a little bit, but this is not the end of my story. And so looking forward to what the future holds for me. And I'm hoping that it might be retirement, which would be really cool as well. Again, it has been an absolute pleasure to serve, and I just really encourage that you get out there on the 26th. Encourage the candidates, because it does take a lot to run, and you know, you get kind of beat up and kind of twisted a little bit, and you get lots of, you know, commentary on some unsolicited and some solicited, and it's a hard thing to run, and learn to find your voice and you know, kind of, you know, determine what you're really, really passionate about and what you want to see as the future of Palmer. And I just want to say that we have something so incredibly special in Palmer, and to just always consider and hold dear to what that uniqueness is of what we have in Palmer. And you're in good hands, so thank you.
Councilman Cooper?
Thank you. As another reminder, early voting, I guess, is until this Friday. Is that right, Madam Clerk?
Monday.
Monday at 5 o'clock. Yeah, so, yeah. So don't forget, if you don't want to vote on Tuesday, vote between now and Monday. That's all.
All right, Councilman Best?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would actually like to encourage those council members that are up for election right now to still engage in the next portion of this process. You know, we still have one more meeting, truly, and win, lose, or draw, it is part of the handing off within our electoral process that we have in this country, because we're not rolling tanks on somebody. We're not, you know, it's not a last man standing kind of thing. It is about the handing of the gavel, handing of the pulpit, the transition of power within our system, and it's even at the city council level. So one more meeting, you come in, and then we get to go through hearing of the voter presence, how it turned out, the voting process, the closing of the loop. And then there's you get to handshake the person that is coming up in, and that really solidifies how our country and this community, all of us have to go through this process. And I think it's still a beautiful part of it that I encourage everybody to still participate and come.
All right, and I'll just echo what Councilman Tudor mentioned, that Thursday night is a candidate forum, and then there's still early voting on Friday and Monday, 8 to 5. You can come here to the council chamber and vote. And yes, thank you, Pam Moline, for serving the city council and being here and participating enthusiastically. And we'll be adjourned.